Good evening and welcome to Laughing Monkey Music Show. Taylor and Steve. How are you, Steve?
Hey, buddy. How are you?
Been a while, a little bit. Obviously, who doesn't know? If you watch the channel, you know Steve, Mr. Blaze has been on many times from Lillian Acts, but got something to promote today. A new package, a new product out. We'll call it.
Yes. Came out a couple of weeks ago. It's called Psalms for Eternity. It is a 3 CD anthology. So, with our new signing to the new label, Global Rock, they wanted to put something out, do a nice anthology type thing, kind of a time capsule. That's what it kind of looked at this as, being a time capsule. In 1,000 years, if somebody dug this thing up, what would be a good representation of what the band was about back here in the, in the 2000
That's
era.
a challenge. You got a lot of albums, like what, 9 albums or something?
So
9?
hard. And I can never please anybody, of course. So it's like, we decided to handle it a little bit differently. So the first disc is called Earth, and it is the what we took, like, though, if there was a one song that was kind of a single, so to speak, either a video single or the one song that seemed to be like the forefront, maybe first release track on the album. So obviously it had to be Misery Loves Company, of course, and then people, Dream of a Lifetime. So you get an argument for every case.
Right.
But I tried to pick one that was a good lead off for each record. Then the second album, the second one, which is called, is it Sea or Sky? I don't know. I don't have it in front of me. It's one of the
Sky. I think it's Sky.
Sky is, that was kind of a deep cut, so to speak, but too deep, right? Like the ones that were like fan favorites, but weren't a video or a single or whatever, So, and then the third one played on an idea I had a long time ago about doing all ballads, just because there's a whole side to this band that kind of, it's always been there in the forefront, was that we write a lot of ballads. We have a lot of, I hate to use the term power ballads, but we do a lot of esoteric kind of beautiful light and dark ballet type stuff. So I wanted that to be represented. So I picked what I thought was like the quintessential ballad on each record. And then each album, each of the 3 has a bonus track. And the idea I came up with for the artwork was taken by Todd Schmidt and created far beyond what my image was of it. I mean, he turned this idea into a masterpiece. It's a beautiful cover, but it's a, do you remember the movie Contact with Jodie Foster?
That was a good movie.
I love that movie. Remember that scene where we don't know really where she was, but it seemed like she was on another planet.
Yeah, at the end, the big,
like on a, right. And that scene, because I saw it in the movies, and the heavens, and it was this entire expanse of just universal beauty. It was amazing. So I said, I'd love to capture that. So we created a type of planetary situation with all the stars and planets and everything we could imagine, with using purples and blues to create this, with this big obelisk coming out of the ground, reaching up into the sky, and all the album covers are kind of engraved into the obelisk. So it's kind of a ground up look. So he did an amazing job on it. So I thought it came out really, really well. But that was kind of a thing, like a timestamp, if we could do the time capsule for anybody that come across it in 1,000 years or so.
What a challenge to do, put all your songs, but in a way you're buttoning things up. Was there a challenge with the new record label taking over to use some of your old stuff, bringing you in?
Yeah, we got it all worked out though.
Yeah.
The only real issue we had was the first 2 albums.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Yes, if we really dug into it, we probably could have not had to sidestep it, but we did so by putting other versions of those songs.
All right, that's what I thought. That's what I thought I was. I heard them live. I'm like, you don't have to do that.
Right. Now, the song is a song, So they worked it all out, and we had, ownership of everything else. So I went being less of a mess than it could have been.
Right. Well, the other problem you would have had, you could re-record it, but then it'd be a different singer. And if you're doing all the albums to represent a timepiece, that wouldn't be a timepiece. I like you a singer, but it wouldn't be that time for that. It wouldn't be that singer for that song.
Exactly. And that's how I always felt it, because I've had a lot of people say, why don't y'all go and, put the screws to those old labels and just go ahead and re-record everything. I said, but it's not the essence of that record. When we record a song in the studio, it is a timestamp. It is a magic about that moment. Not saying we'd never do it again, but I wouldn't want to release it,
Well, especially album per album, it would be weird. It's not like I mean, some bands have done it because they have all the band members still. They want to get out, so they just redo their album. Right. That's a little different because it still kind of sounds the same. Yeah. But this would be different. I mean, maybe if you do like a live album with all the different songs with your new singer, that would be different.
But also there's no lack of new material ever. So, why that stuff's there. It's has its time in the past, and it has its time present, and it will still be here in the future. But we are creating and adding on constantly.
Well, it's really good the way you do it. I know you go like newest to oldest, or vice versa. But the first track is a really good start. And I do feel one thing. Sorry, we'll cut up as we talk. One thing I do feel there's a lot more biblical references tied in on this one. You've always had it in your work, but everything is really starting to come out more strongly, all tied together. I don't know if that was on purpose or.
I don't. You know what? It's funny because I don't do anything on purpose, really. It's the way it is. But you are right about that. I mean, there's no secret. I'm a born again Christian. No. My belief system is strong. I write about good and evil. I write about mankind and the human condition and all things within there and those parameters. And I guess hopefully the older I get, I'm smarter and maybe a little more eloquent I become, or a bit able to, express my ideas and things in a different way than I did before. But you are right about that. And on the new album, it's even more so. We have choirs, and it's the new album is a departure on the same flight. Let's put it that way. Same vehicle, but a whole new departure. It's really going to turn some heads. It's it's a religious experience when I sit there and listen from top to bottom. It's I just can't wait for everybody to hear it. But there is a lot of reference because it's loosely based on my life, but it's about the lessons from birth until ascension at the end of one's life. All the lessons learned and things and realizations within those two time periods. And I think that every human being at different points, different circumstances, goes through all of those same experiences as they go through their life.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it strikes a chord like that, but it's something else. These guys, the band, the engineers, did an amazing job. So, and topping it off with Ted Jensen doing the mastering on it. Like I said, I told my wife, I said, we've been recording this album for 3 years now, on and off. I said, when I finally, the final product in my hand, shrink wrapped, finished, ready for, I'm going to probably either melt, cry, or have a cognac. I don't drink, so who knows? It's going to be an emotional release for me when it's finally done, because I have, out of everything I've ever done, this has been the most emotionally taxing, and I've been through the most in doing this and on many different levels. So
once it comes out of you, that's it. You can be like empty. You have empty nest syndrome after a while. After for a week of it.
He's like, "What are you going to do after this? Where are you going to go from this? Because this is a pinnacle here." And I was like, I'll worry about that the week after it comes out. So I was joking around with Giles, our A&R guy, and he's like, "Well, you ready to start recording the next one?" Yeah, probably so. The week after this comes out, we'll be back in the studio again. There'll never be a lack of material or creativity.
Well, now you can do space too, because you got the whole Earth and everything else going on. Your next one could be like some kind of Silver Surfer galaxy space.
Exactly.
Thing. Well, I mean, your work has a lot of spirituality in it, I think is what I'm saying, because obviously it's not written as a way like, and this is not a dig towards like Striper, you
Right.
know, it's a little bit different. Like it's more palatable for anybody to listen to it, or your commitment is a little different for other people. You know what I mean? You can be a little looser with religion
Exactly.
and interpret it as just being a positive thing, and then being exactly what it is with
Right. Well,
other bands.
belief systems always has from the beginning. You know, it could be geographically determined. It could be many different reasons why people think and believe different things. But I also, and I'm very accepting of that, whether my system is a belief is different than others. What I don't accept is making excuses for being bad.
Mhm.
And well, that, you know, if you don't believe in God, that doesn't give you a right or an
Right.
excuse to hurt other people. There's a real, very distinct difference between good and bad.
The
Now,
moral fiber.
exactly, and that's it. So, you know, I mean, there's plenty of different people with different religious backgrounds, but if they're all going towards the positive angle, I think it's that simple as good and bad. Now, you got things that are not quite as good and not quite as bad as other elements of it, but still, it's a lean one way or the other.
Right.
And so that's on this record, even though there are references to heaven and God and Jesus and Satan and the devil and whatnot, those elements exist in all spiritual dogma. You know, whether you're a Buddhist or whatever, you do have somebody that you think, or some entity that you think is the creator and the giver of all. You know, and they always have the opposite side of that too. Now,
You can't have one without the other. Yeah.
exactly. So, you know, and that's where a lot of these moments. There's a song on here, for example, called "The Fall of the Human Condition," and it's about what mankind is going through, and we see it now. But man has been rising and falling and rising and falling and picking himself up and screwing himself over and doing it over and over again since he's been in existence. So it's just kind of a repetitive thing that I think until the end of time, it's going to continue to go on like that. But those are the types of things that we talk about and that I wrote about for this album.
You said it was gonna be a long one too. I think last time we talked, you're threatening it's gonna be like over an hour or something. It'd be pretty epically long. Is that still on track for being super long?
It's not as long as it could be. I think it's 16 tracks, but they're interludes that are tracks. It's like a novel. It's not, you know, where you can flip around from one song to the other and get it. It's a piece. It starts off with a song called "Breathe," and it's the first thing you hear in the record is the actual heartbeat of an unborn baby in the womb. So, and the first song is "Breathe," and it's about the actual birth of a child. And it goes on and on through childhood and through maturity and through realizations of evil and realizations of paranormal, realizations of love and loss and where we are, false gods, the arrogance and narcissism of man. There's a song called "The Feelings of Absence," and I wrote it. I had the music and I knew what I was going to write about it. And then all of a sudden, the whole thing with Russian invasion came up and the lyrics came real easy at that point.
I'll bet. It's been a lot of good writing material.
There's mankind never ceases to give me anything but a plethora of information to write about. So all I got to do is listen to the radio or look at the news, and I got a lot to write about. So,
What's the last song going to be on that album? Like dirt hitting a coffin, or?
last song is called "From the Mountaintops," and it is actually about the passing of life, and it's kind of a twofold thing. It's about an individual coming to peace and having clarity and realizing in that split moment before he passed away that, you know, that we really weren't meant to actually know everything right now, and I'm good with that, and I'm at peace, and here I go. The last song is called "Ascension," and it's about the soul ascending into heaven, and it's all these songs are filled with choirs and strings and giant guitars and big drums and piano, thunder and lightning and bells, and we've got maggots, flies, timpanis, gongs, wind chimes.
Wow.
There's every a mellotron, strings, cellos, there's everything, grand piano, everything that I could possibly put into this. It's like a giant musical. So there was really nothing else. I didn't want to put a tuba in it or any brass. I'm not a big, I wasn't going to do a sax solo.
A big tuba solo at the last song would really kind of throw off the whole.
That's next album. What are you going to do different this time? Tuba solo. There you go.
All tuba. Well, are you going to, so if you play it, what are you going to play out? What are you going to do? Like the whole album and then at the end do like some greatest hits?
It would be virtually I shouldn't say impossible, very difficult to do this album, although we could, and I could figure out a way to do it. No, we'd probably take certain elements of it. I'll give you some example. There are 2 songs on here with choirs on them, with 120 voices that Brent and I created. We are the voices. We call it the Moron Tabernacle Choir. And you would think it was any choir out there. I mean, we spent hours and built it, and there are 8-part harmonies, and it's goosebump material, but it's done well. It's on a song called Dance of the Maggots, and on that From the Mountaintops song. We have this big, giant 120 voice choir.
I think it would be cool to do it if you could recreate similar. I mean, if you use background tracks, it's not like you're doing,
Well, we could do, and I always talk about the way Queen did harmonies with their big, giant. They would do those same harmonies, but they would do 3 or 4. We have 4 singers in the band, so we could do 4-part harmonies and do the parts. Right. We could do it. I don't shy away from anything, even the things with big pianos and stuff like that. We play them on guitar. We do a different version of that song and keep it true to its element. But we've never used tracks, and I don't plan on ever doing so either.
Well, I think there would be a pass though, because if you did it as a production, as an album, and it was being passed off as what it was as the album, it would be different than being on a cruise ship or doing something in your microphone, everyone's singing 8 feet back with the background vocals with their mouths closed, and you're really performing. You're just those are just like the icing part. It's not the same as the band's still playing.
If you're honest about it, if you're like, look, we don't have a keyboard player in this band, so we're using keyboard tracks. But as far as like vocals are concerned, there's a ton of vocals. But we can sing them. We can do them ourselves. Now the choir stuff, we might have to do those triggered or whatnot, but we also, I think we could pull them off too, just with vocals.
You guys sing though, you do, and I was noticing this even from your first album to your most recent, you do have a certain sound when everybody sings that you've been pretty much be able to. Obviously, your voice is a big part of that mix, but you pretty much be able to keep it going from having Ron, who's obviously the singer, all up to now Brent. So I mean, there's a certain, you're not talking about, you guys have a certain harmony that's very much the sound,
right?
Like just like your guitar tone is, the vocals harmony is a sound to you guys.
I think so too, and I think it's not only the way, I guess the way that I approach harmonies. That's one of the things that I learned when I was a kid. I was always I grew up in the 70s. I was just massively in love with songwriters and listening to Elton John and Bread and early Queen and James Taylor and all the songwriters. There were a lot of great songs and songwriters, guys that wrote 1 or 2 songs, you never heard from them ever again. But the harmonies and the songwriting of that time really influenced me. And I was like, I love harmonies. I love doing unusual harmonies. Our harmonies are never set in stone. I may be 1 line underneath it. On the next one, I might be a third over it. And then the third line, it's a combination of both, or I might switch it. I switch it over to what pleases me in my head. I don't use it as a mathematical equation, like we've got to do, stay on thirds all the time. And then on this one, we go here. I never, ever do that. I just go with what I trust my instinct and my gut on everything. because I get that asked a lot. Well, how do you do this? And I don't have a pattern. It just happens, and it's just what comes in my head. Like I get asked that. Do you write lyrics first? Do you write guitar? How do you come up with this melody? And I wish I could be more helpful in, well, I do it just like this, but I can't do it like that. I'll write lyrics in the car driving around. I write a song. I wrote one of the songs on this album. I wrote in a dream about 6 years ago. I woke up in the middle of the night and I ran to my phone and I recorded it on my voice and left it there for like 5 or 6 years. And then with this album, I was like, this time. And then this song Ascension, I was playing around the keyboard and I wrote this little part. I had this part for like 7, 8 years on my phone. And I knew one day it was going to happen. And I could hear, it was like a minute long of the idea, just tinkering on a keyboard. Right. I could hear the way it was going to come out, but I had to wait for the right time. And it came out better than I even anticipated in my head. So that's why I go with my instincts and my gut on a lot of things. Oh, and also my son, Jude, he just turned 13. He wrote the opening riff to one of the songs too. When he was a little kid, well, he still is my little kid, but when he was about 5, playing around with his with keyboard, little iPad or something, some kind of little, I don't know if it was on the PlayStation or on his iPad, and he came up with this little riff. And I was like, where'd you get that? And he's like, I'm just matching colors and sounds and playing around. And I got the phone out, recorded it, got the guitar out and figured it out. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, well, so he'll gets a writing credit.
Good. That's good. Get him started early, right?
Yep.
That's pretty funny. So you've been playing out a little bit now, though. So you've been doing some of the cruises or on the mountains and some of those shows, right?
Right.
And you're doing some of your. Did I actually see online? I didn't see it, but you actually starting to do some of your new music out there too already.
Doing I Am Beyond, which is
okay.
First track. Well, it's the second track on the album. The first track is Breathe. It's kind of an introduction, epic introduction into the record. But I Am Beyond is probably more than likely going to be the first video and first single, if you can really name anything a single anymore. But that's going to be the first song that we push, and we're going to do a video for that. It's called I Am Beyond. We've been playing it out. Yeah, I thought I saw that there's a video on YouTube for it. Yeah, I think I was playing it live. Yeah. And I didn't know. I saw it, but I didn't check it out. I was like, I'll find out what's going on with that. If you guys are doing new stuff or not, or what it was. That's cool. So I want to feel out what the audience likes, and kind of see which songs rise. What are the songs that I hear the most of? Mm-hmm. Because I back to when I try to guess in my head, what do I think are going to be the ones that people are going to gravitate to? Then I let close people in my circle hear it, and it's all over the place. It could be anything, So, which is a good thing too. I like the fact that it's not like very obvious, You could do one of the things where you choose, have everybody vote for the songs that they want to see you play. That's a great idea. We have done that before, and asking, what songs do you want to play? And it's obvious. It's so across the board. Obviously, the ones. Right, you want the big ones, but you can say like, all right, out of these 5 or 6 main ones. Right. Learn 15 others, and then you can throw in, half of them there one night, and the other night if they're coming back, especially if you're doing shows that are so close, one state apart or whatever. Some people go to both shows, they can get some new songs in both things if you kind of. Well, we had too. Our set is usually 2 hours long. So guitars on this album. What have you been doing? What guitars are you using? You same. Well, I have my own coming out July 1st. My own signature pickup. Through out of Baton Rouge, a guy named Jeffrey Shardy. He is the elite guitar pickup creator and winder. He is a luthier. Mm-hmm. Does the he's been around a long time. I've heard his name, and I never got the chance to meet him until about 6 months ago. And we hit it off. We got together, and he set up a bunch of my guitars, and he said, "Look, man, why don't we do your own signature pickup?" So we spent hours going through pickups and guitars and tones, and created one's called the Blaze Bucker, and it's coming out July 1st, and it is just an amazing pickup. So fortunately, I was able to still have a few tracks on the album to use, and it sounds fantastic. So that's coming out in July. But on this album, I use a lot of different things. I use my Gibson Explorer, my Les Paul, my Charvels. I have 3 Charvels. I used all of them. My Strictly 7, my Guilfords. I used composite acoustic
How do you like
guitars.
it? How do you like the composite?
I like it a lot. Yeah. It's solid. I like something that the neck stays consistent, and I know, and it's got good action on it. I use my Takamine too as well. And then I used a guitar they had in the studio, a Taylor that they had sitting around in there that hadn't been played in like 10 years. And I just, let me feel that. And it plays pretty good. And let's mic it up, see how it sounds in this track. And it sounded great. So we use it. They had another guitar that had only the high strings of a 12 string on it. So almost like a lute kind of sound to it. So just the high octaves on all strings. I use that on, I have an acoustic interlude called Endless Green Fields, and that's what I used on it. So it kind of sounds like a weird mandolin flute hybrid.
That sounds cool.
So, yeah, I've got B3s on this album. I've got playing the Hammond B3 was a unique experience because I never really played. I was out in the control room. I mean, in the recording room, and we had this Hammond through a Leslie, and it was cranked up. And when you hit the chords on that thing with that Leslie, like 5 feet from me, you could feel those things going through your bones. It was like you got engulfed in this warmth, and it sounded amazing. It's on a song called "The Fall of the Human Condition," and it's right in there with the big heavy guitars, and you can feel, and it's just that John Lord rumbling underneath it. Man, it felt great. I could just sit out there, hit a chord and just bask in it for an hour. It's like having a massage. It was great. But so
I'm just excited.
We got Mellotron on this record. We have piano, lots of strings. We brought in a very seasoned keyboardist to do tracks on 3 of the songs. There's piano on 4 or 5 songs. I did a couple of them, simpler stuff. And then he came in for the other stuff. And then we just spent a lot of time on great string and cello patches.
Well, last question for you is, what was going on with The Veil?
Well, we are right in the process right now of editing the documentary we've been working on for a year. And we've got a couple more things to video. And then it's about 20, 25 minutes of it is completely edited. And that's been the toughest part. Now we get into editing of the actual investigation. So the documentary called Ghosts of Fort Jackson, we're hoping to have that edited and presented for streaming like by the end of the year. Now that I have this album pretty much under my belt in the next few weeks, that is the next emphasis, is not only to get that documentary done, but to get our Love and War show podcast back up and running again.
That's right. Well, I know for a while you were talking about trying to get it, signed or something with the series, get it out there. You were putting stuff together, so you had a lot of ideas with it.
We've been in and out. It's been like shopping a record deal, but much more difficult. We've had promises from many different people on picking up our show, our ghost hunting show, and even down to the point where a network gave us a time slot, and then things fall apart, finances fall apart, flakes pop up, and you realize somebody was not doing what they were supposed to. It's same old garbage that everybody experiences in business. So now we decided, Todd Schmidt and I decided, we're just going to go ahead and do our own documentary. And he is a brilliant editor, cameraman, photographer. This documentary is really cool too. It's different than your normal standard documentary. It starts off with basically how I got into paranormal and how I created the Veil, the team, and how my partners and I in this team decided we were going to do this one investigation that we've been wanting to do for a long time, and which we've already done. It's already filmed. It's already been documented and created. Now editing the actual documentary itself. So hopefully by the end.
I hope so, because we've been talking about it for a while. I'm kind of curious. I want to see it.
Oh yeah, I think you'll really enjoy it. It's like these projects, they start off everything I get involved in starts off, all right, we're going to do this. Then all of a sudden, oh, we're going to do this. Then it gets bigger and bigger. And before you know it, it's like, oh God, we got to do it. We got to make it better. We got to make it bigger and better. But at the end of the day, as long as the people are pleased with it, that's the most important thing to us.
Well, yeah. As things are getting back into normal, give it a little more extra time to finish things up. So,
Oh, they getting back to normal? Oh, okay.
Are you playing out now without a mask?
Well, that's true, but
that's
I would have done.
Gonna get normal.
Oh man, I don't know. That's a whole nother show. We talk about that. Hey, I'm blessed. We made it through. We're here now. Hopefully, we can get man to start acting like a grow up out there.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Right. People, I want to tell everybody, check it out. It's on all the platforms. You even have it up on YouTube, and actually you have all your albums up there. So actually go subscribe to the page. Subscribe to everything. It's Facebook, because Love and War is on, right? You actually stream it on your Facebook.
You can see Love and War show on my Facebook page. The best thing to do is go. We have a Love and War show channel on YouTube with all 40 episodes on it.
Okay.
But I'm really easy to get a hold of on my Facebook page and on Lillian X page. I'm always on there. I'm always trying to let everybody know what's going on. I got a lot of other little things on my pop vinyl, but I have a
that's cool. Yeah, right.
I have this comic book artist did a print. I've got we have Lillian Axe patches, new merchandise at visionmerch.com, and we're just trying to push it, brother. Just
all right. Well, all the links will go underneath the show as usual.
I appreciate you, man. It's always good to speak with you.
Thanks for you too.